Any way I could interest you ladies in coming closer to me? Jared has got me sequestered here on this thrust. Otherwise, I would come to you. I'm all about the compromise.
You said that close, I got my back.
I'm too close for you? Am I in your space? Or
I'm trying to get you on camera.
usually I'm like this, as far as I can go. Hey, there's Austin. Well, welcome to our parent forum. And I think those who join us online might be more than those who join us in person at this point. Are we live yet?
We are live.
Do we have any participants online?
We do have some participants.
Well, welcome you guys. I'm going to open us in a word of prayer. Appreciate you guys making time for tonight. I wanted to provide a space for us to answer some questions that I've been asked lately and get some feedback on some issues that we're looking at that we need to react to. So we'll have some time for discussion here in the room. And Jared, can you moderate discussion for those who joined on Zoom or whatever platform you're on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. So let me open us in a word of prayer and we'll jump in. Lord, thank you for the chance to get together tonight to encourage and communicate with and interact with our parents. I pray that, Lord, you help us to move through all the needful topics and pray for open dialogue and just some wisdom as we talk about the ministry here and what you've called us to. And so thank you for the evening. And we just pray you bless and lead us. In Jesus' name, amen. So come in. If you guys got an agenda that Amanda made, then I'm going to start off with a couple of items, and then Pastor Ken's going to come, and then Amanda's going to come, and then I'll come back later and facilitate a little bit of discussion. If you have maybe some questions, I'll take some questions about all these topics a little bit later. The first thing I wanted to kind of throw out there was something we're seeing with our Sunday morning programming. And so I want to kind of paint a little bit of a picture and then maybe get some initial feedback from you guys. And then just I want to kind of contemplate what we talk about tonight as we anticipate that we might need to make some adjustments. So one of the things that we saw with the fluctuation from COVID was some very hard to predict Sunday morning attendance in our programming. And so in the last, I would say, couple of months, as I've been trying to walk around the halls to monitor a lot of things, everything from volume in the worship center of music to what's going on in our programming on Sunday mornings to just generally how the team is doing. I've been noticing some lower attendance in some of the children's spaces. And so some of the rooms, I might poke my head in and we might have 2 kids in there. And, you know, we have 1 or 2 leaders that are prepared all week. And so I was like, well, you know, I've been doing church work a long time. That happens on some days. But when it happens like multiple times in a row or something like that, then I start to pay different kind of attention. So that's what I'm kind of seeing, is that there are multiple weeks in a row, not counting this last week, which is interesting, where you might have 1 kid in a room or 2 kids in a room, or even no kids in a room. And so to me, the thoughts I was having were really that's not kind of the implied commitment to the kids. When you bring them to church, the kind of the implicit idea is that they're going to be in a setting with other kids. Like they could be alone at home. They could, you know, they could be with 1 other kid at a play date. But when you come to church, like from a user standpoint, the idea is that they get together with other people their age. So I was like, that's not really the experience that we were trying to give the kids. And then 2, when an adult shows up to lead and there's 1 kid, he can't or she can't do what she planned usually because it's not planned for 1 kid. Usually it's interactive. So it's harder on lesson plans. Plus, if there's 1 or 2 kids or no kids, sometimes the leader gets discouraged. You know, it's hard on the leaders. So I was looking at all these things and it made me wonder, you know, we have to try to provide the best experiences for the kids. We have to treat our adults with some respect and try to prepare them well to do well. And I started wondering if we should not consider doing some combining. Right now, we have individual classroom spaces for, I think, every 2 to 3 grades. And if there are smaller groups, I'm wondering if we should think about combining some classrooms. And if we should maybe consider combining when we do the program at all, like maybe offer children's and babies, infant care and children's programming maybe at one of the services, but maybe offer a family service in the other service. Maybe we could bring more kids together during one, give them a better experience, help our leaders succeed differently. So I've been having some thoughts. My reaction is to kind of have some dialogue and see what others think and kind of get some feedback. So no decisions have been made. I've had some interactions around this topic with Amanda. I've talked with the elders a little bit, try to get their feedback. I'd like to get some feedback from some parents and maybe some leaders. So maybe just, do you have any thoughts related to what I'm saying, or even questions? And Jared, if you could give us any thoughts that you're seeing from the online discussion too. Anybody? So just think about that. We'll have some time at the end where you can maybe enter in. I know that might be a new idea. So my goal for tonight is to hear other perspectives. And if we do need to make a change to walk away from tonight, think about what we heard and then think about what to do. So maybe let that idea simmer a little bit. If we did make a change, it would probably be, several weeks down the road at the earliest, could even be first of the year. If we decide to make a change at all. We did have, it was kind of interesting about tonight's meeting because Sunday we had kind of balanced attendance in the children's spaces across both services. So I don't know, it's unpredictable. Ever since COVID happened, I can't predict what's going to happen next as far as involvement and participation. So I just thought that was interesting. Knowing that we were going to talk about this tonight, I thought, well, what an odd time to see, that shift. But anyway, I'd like to get some feedback. So I'll circle back at the end. Maybe you think about it for a minute and we'll come back to that topic. Another thing that I wanted to bring up and get some feedback in, and maybe we'll treat this the same way, is there's been a change to the way Illinois is treating vaccinations and potentially even might have an impact on masks for kids. So now you can get vaccinated all the way down to like 5 years old. And so I wanted to get some perspectives from the parents, because we will start to get some questions, I'm sure, about whether or not we're going to relax the mask policy here for our age-graded programming. And as you know, the posture of our church on the weekends when we meet is masks are recommended, they're not required. And so I haven't gotten this question yet, but Amanda brought it up to me, and I thought it would be good to get some feedback tonight, just get some other thoughts from parents and maybe leaders about what you think about that topic. And it will come up, certainly will. I've been asked yet. Amanda, have you been asked yet on this topic?
I have not.
Okay. I have been asked, but it was by you.
Okay.
So the only person who asked me is Amanda, because she thinks forward like that. I love it. So, but I'd like to kind of chop that up a little bit, maybe get some thoughts that maybe I haven't considered, she hasn't considered, anticipating trying to make the best decision we can when it does really come up for people. One of the thoughts we had in staff meeting, we talked about it, and several of us were of the mind that, and I think Ken voiced this position in staff meeting, that, let's pay attention to the local school system and try not to deviate too much from how they're treating that issue. So they're getting a lot of questions, I'm sure, about that too. So anyway, think about that too. I'll circle back at the end with some opportunity for you to maybe have some input there. Only other things I wanted to bring up were we started this on Thursdays. There's a parent update going out every week by email. It's coming from the main office, but the heading title is Parent Update, and it'll have kind of just program information mainly, but it might have also events coming up for anybody that is a kid, you know, birth through 18 in our church. It'll have a blurb about whatever's coming up for them. And then maybe also, you know, events that are coming up. So that's going to go out on Thursdays. That's the plan each week. And I think it has gone out. Maybe last week went out on Friday, but today was the second time. I think it was the third time, but we can debate about that later. But that's going to go out. The idea is to go out every Thursday. It'll have, I think Pastor Ken wrote some things about the student ministry. Amanda wrote some things about the kids ministry and the infant ministry. And I think there were also some things about events in the one that went out today. So that's just for parents. As you know, teenagers don't email. They don't even know what email is. So this is not for them. So this is about kids and student ministry written to parents. So we communicate with students in a different way, communicate with kids in a different way. This is only for parents and to try to give information away to you guys the best we can. So we want to try to inform as much as we can, answer questions that you have, let you know what's going on and what's coming up that week. So the kids already probably have an idea of what's coming next, but as a parent, I'd like you to kind of know too. And so, you know, and then with regard to that, the only last thing I want to mention is one of the things that I want you to be aware of are the personalities that are on the teams that are working with your kids. So in like the student space, for instance, we're going to start trying to familiarize you with all of the different staff that are serving. For instance, I want you to know who's working in the middle school ministry. When your daughter's there, who's very competitive. She did a great job at the games last night. But who, you know, who's running the games is DeAndre Charles. And I just want you to kind of get more familiar with the team. So DeAndre Charles is running, he's the rec director. John King is started taking on the tech director role. Rick Ryder is running the snack bar and doing check-in for the middle school. Several people have been doing teaching. For instance, Kyle Brown is on the teaching team now. Nick Tanner's joined the teaching team now. So I want you to be familiar with the people that are investing in your child's life and maybe recognize them when you see them on campus and recognize that they're trying to do something positive there. And I want you to familiarize yourself with who's in that space. And there's the same kind of team for a high school ministry, same kind of team working in Club 45 for the 4th and 5th graders and every one going down. So my goal is that there'd be a lot more familiarity among parents about who's making the investment in the space that their kids are in. I think the kids know them, but I'm not sure you do. And I not only want you to be familiar, but I also want those leaders to have a little bit of acknowledgement. That's a big investment they're making. I'd just like to appreciate them and recognize that for them. So I think that's good for all of us. So you can expect that. We're going to try to build out those parent updates. So that's just there. You kind of see the staff for those spaces and kind of a blurb about what's coming up in the programming that weekend or that next Wednesday. So I think the one that came out today, Pastor Ken for the middle school, he said, hey, next Wednesday we're not meeting because it's Thanksgiving. But when we do get back, it's this little blurb about what the rec is, and, you know, who's speaking. That's what I'm talking about. I just want you to anticipate what's coming up. And I think that's exciting for the kids whenever they know what's coming. I want you to know what's coming too. I think it's just good. So think about, I'm going to come back in a few minutes. Pastor Ken's going to come now and just talk with you about what's been going on in his life in the last month and try to help you understand what's going on with him. But I'll come back at the end and try to think about maybe some input around children's programming and student programming and the idea of possibly combining to give the best experience to children leaders. And then also the mask policy, just thoughts about whether or not it'd be correct or good to make any adjustments there as we move in to this next phase. So think about that. And Pastor Ken's going to come and share with you a little bit.
Thanks, Kevin. Hello, everyone on the interwebs. Who all is on there? Jared? Our way of saying hi to people. Nice. It's all right. All those people are very awesome people. Love you guys. Glad you guys joined us tonight. Everybody here, they're also obviously awesome people. So I have not been in church the last several weeks. I wound up having a medical emergency, going into the hospital. For the last several years, I have been dealing with and coping with depression and with some pretty chronic anxiety that I was just getting through life with. And so all of that kind of came to a head about 5 weeks ago, and I was suicidal. I went into the hospital with my wife, and was then in a program. They have these feelings camp programs. So I was making friends and learning how to not fix my depression and my anxiety, but to manage them well. So I'm super grateful for everyone that has jumped in ways that they have. Amanda and Kevin both just picked up all of my responsibilities and allowed me the time and the space to get some help. So I was really excited to be back at church on Sunday and see some friendly faces. And then last night at Lightco, it was good to be back around the kids. So I am easing back into my workflow. So I am back in all of our programs, but just taking some things easy for a season to have a more balanced work life, emotional life, spiritual life. So yeah, that's my update. I realize there's been a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty around that when a pastor just disappears for 4 weeks. So I'm doing lots better, and I'm really glad to be back. I'm grateful for everyone here at Junior Creek for how they supported me through that. Yeah. If there are any questions about those, I don't think we need to, or about my situation, I don't think we need to take that here, but I'm more than happy to field questions on a one-on-one basis. All right, that's what I had to share with you guys, and I am going to get off the hot seat now.
Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Ken, thank you. I told him that I was going to say, for explaining what he's been going through that he did, not going any further. But he just pretty much told you everything just now. And I think that was extremely authentic and genuine. And I'm astounded by your willingness to do that. At the same time, I just want to encourage everybody to recognize that this is a very normal thing. This is not an abnormal thing. It's just abnormal for churches to be upfront about it. So Ken is demonstrating a willingness to do something that I haven't seen normally in church life. So I just want to encourage everybody to treat it with the right kind of respect. I've been very cautious about talking about that deference to him, and I'm not going to say much about it other than say, we are preparing to emphasize mental health issues starting. I'm preparing a couple of messages this January. We're going to launch a support group here at our church. And I'm preparing a message around 2 Corinthians 1:8, where the Apostle Paul says he was despising of his own life. I don't know if you ever knew that he at one point had thoughts about whether or not he was willing to stay alive. He wrote half the New Testament. And at one point, he would be characterized in our terms with the word suicide. I'm going to preach about that this January. I'm super proud to know a guy that would be willing to stand here and just be that upfront with you about what he's been going through right now. A lot of us would say what we went through, years and years ago in the ancient past. Hardly anybody will say what I'm going through right now. So, amazing. you know, kudos to you. I don't have the words, but no, good grief, that was unbelievable. So you got tons of my respect. You know, I'm gonna try to learn from what you just did there. I think that was amazing. And let's all try to show support and you know, come together. It was important for me. Somebody asked me if there was a scandal we were trying to cover up. You know, and I get it. That's the culture we live in. I just want you to know there's been no kid hurt. There's been no impropriety that's not being told. I didn't think that we were going to tell everybody what had happened because frankly, it's not everyone's business, but now he's willing to talk about it. So now you know exactly what's happened. This is exactly the kind of thing that I don't share. This is exactly the reason I don't share it normally is because it's his business. But if he's going to share it, I'm going to just take this up and say some things we don't talk about out of difference to the person going through it. But now you know it's this kind of thing that we are quiet about sometimes. I just think we have to show a lot of respect and care and love for people that are struggling. And I'm going to try to do that. I want to do that. And I just want us to treat this with the right type of care and respect and recognize how difficult it is to do what he just did. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. But I appreciate that so much. It really touched me. So thank you. And let me just offer a prayer because that's hard to follow. Amanda's going to come talk about BDS. I don't know how she do that and that type of thing. So I'm going to say a prayer and then Amanda, you can come. Okay. Lord, I'm thankful for Ken and I'm appreciative so much that he's willing to find the footing to be that up front of what's happening right now. I pray you do all he needs to strengthen him and help him to feel your presence and your strength. And I pray this church, myself included, will find a way to, you know, be authentic, you know, to come together and be upfront about the fact that struggles are real. And people have them, we have them. And find a way to come together and not let things like this undermine fellowship, undermine mission and relationships. I pray for that. I pray for your blessing. I know others are struggling. Anytime we talk about this, others are too, and quietly. I pray God help us come together, be more upfront about Easter better. Just pray you do that, cultivate that in our church, Lord. I just want to pray that prayer. Thanks. Pray you help Amanda as she comes to speak now. Thank you for the message.
Thank you guys for coming up and sharing. Pastor Kevin shared a little bit. We want to have you guys in the know. We want to partner with you. We get your kids only a few hours once a week, maybe twice a week, but we want to partner with you to help support your kids as best we can. And we have a couple ways to do that. Pastor Kevin mentioned that weekly parent update that is going to be emailed on Thursdays, with the exception of next week, because that is Thanksgiving. But every other week it's going to be on Thursdays. Some other ways to connect to us is through events. I am building that calendar. I want you guys to come into a safe space, have fun, have fellowship and community, and just have fun in our space. A couple events that we are having coming up that I am really excited about is the Gingerbread Bash. That is December 11th from 1 to 2:30. Come and we're going to build gingerbread houses. There's going to be a prize for the best gingerbread house built, but we're going to have fun music and just have a good time together. January, we have Muffins with Mom. February, we have Parents Night Out, which is February 11th. So you guys can drop your kids off here, go out, have some adult time, couple time, and just enjoy a time away from the kids, knowing that they're safe and having fun. And then in March is Donuts with Dad. So those are a couple events that we have already built in to our calendar. Another way to connect with our ministry and know what's going on is something called Parent Queue. That is directly linked to what your kids are doing in the classroom Sunday. So first, all the way to 5th grade, it's linked to the memory verse, the story that we're learning, and it gives special things to do throughout the week to help engage them in the Bible, to help foster discussions and talk with them at their age level. So that is directly connected and customized to Ginger Creek. So I can provide you ways to very easily download that and connect it to Ginger Creek, and then you can build your child's profile. You're going to get information. It is a huge hub. It's linked to our Facebook page, our kids' Facebook page. It's linked to our Ginger Creek Kids Instagram page. It's linked to the Ginger Creek website and all sorts of things. And it has all of our events listed out there. So it's a great resource and information place to go to. That is another way. We have text updates. So this is another way to keep connected and know what's going on in children's and student ministry. If you'd like to get information about Ginger Creek Kids, and that's birth all the way to grade 5, you can text GC Kids to 75787. If you'd like information for our student ministry in that 6th grade through 12th grade, you can text Student Min to 75787. If you'd like information on Lightco, you can text Lightco to 75787. And then if you'd like information on SALTCO, you can text SALTCO to 75787. Those are our main ways to connect with the church. If you haven't been getting our parent update email, that might mean that the information that we have in our system isn't up to date. Starting this past Sunday, there are information pages to fill out and get all of that information up to date so you can get all of that and know what's going on. If you don't or you haven't seen that, you can go to any one of our check-in desks or reach out to me directly and I can help get that information updated for you. Another thing Pastor Kevin mentioned is VBS. Now, that is a long time away, but I want to help best serve the kids and the parents of our church and get your feedback on VBS. And that is just a way that we can kind of have that interaction to see when the best time is. Now, last year, because of COVID, it kind of shifted things a little bit to July, but I would like to move it back to June. And another thing I would like input on is if you would prefer to keep it in the morning, Monday through Friday, so roughly 9 to 11:30 or 9 to 12, Monday through Friday. You could also move it to the evening, Monday through Friday, roughly 6 to 8 p.m. Or we can shift it and condense it a little bit, so it would be a program from Thursday till Sunday at various times as well. So I would love to get your feedback on that. And so you can reach out to me or to kind of cook, and we can kind of build that so we can get that to the best place for you guys. Pastor Kevin, is there anything else that you would like to come up and add before we kind of open it back up?
I think so, man.
Okay, so if you are online, there is a chat function on the bottom of the screen that you can click and just make sure if you have a question to ask, you do it to everyone so we can see the questions. And you can do that. And then if you would like the packet of information that I have here emailed to you, just type in your email address and I can make sure to get that to you after our meeting.
You don't go anywhere. We're going to field these questions together.
Oh.
So if it's relative to kids ministry, I'll toss it to you.
Okay.
Unless I can help. So
Let me kind of cycle us through some of the topics we covered, and then I'll just open it up for general questions. So we started off talking about the possibility of doing a shift with regard to programming. Anybody have any thoughts, input, questions related to the idea that we might combine some classrooms, possibly even combine to the extent that we only offer programming at one service even? That's one of the ideas. So those are some of the ideas we're kicking around. Any thoughts or anything regarding any of that?
From a parent perspective, from what I've heard from my younger two, about more Club 45 is she's kind of bummed that sometimes she's the only person or only other person that's leaving her saying she doesn't want to go. And so I would love for, you know, like, to be combined so there's more kids. As a mother of a fifth grader, and I know that she's going to be going to like next year, I want her to start bonding with some of those kids. So she's, you know, excited to go to Generate and all those student things. So I like the idea of the combined.
Now, when you say combined, are you talking about moving it to one service or combining the 4th and 5th grade with the other elementary grades?
Possibly from her perspective, would be the one service would be more kids. She's probably not gonna be thrilled about being second grade sister. She'd have to do it, but.
Again, she does that at home.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you,
that's just
Stacy.
feedback, but
No, perfect. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Thoughts or questions? I think it's good to even anticipate questions we might get if we did something like that.
which service?
I was gonna say, if you did it, what service?
Yeah.
Would it be the 9 o'clock, then it would be?
That's an interesting dilemma because whichever one you do, the other one's being like, well, you canceled my service.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard. For me, I would really have some feedback. My instinct is to provide programming at the later service because I think it's harder to get kids up earlier. But what's that?
It depends how old they are. The younger the child, the earlier they seem to get up.
Let
The
me add
older the
something.
child,
I wasn't
the-
the one who got those kids up there.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm talking right now. Other people talk about this, please.
Would you consider doing it only for Club 45?
That's an interesting thought.
I mean, if your numbers are okay, you're kind of lower grades, kind of evening out. I've been Club 45 enough to know that it's low service. And if we want to try to build momentum for being out, and those kids consider service, you know, so if you're diehard for service people, it that adult service, but if it's really want to build some momentum through that, I would say second service.
So
Good
what,
answer, if you can repeat, yeah.
so somebody just mentioned if we would only combine Club 45 to one service and not touch, and not touch the other ones, but just keep the momentum because Club 45 is lower in both services.
Which on that note too, I know church pushed back 10:45 service instead of like 10:30. It's 15 minutes as a football person. Second service makes it really hard. I know this isn't necessarily just kids related, but it is a legit concern when I think about, hey, say what you want. I got 12 o'clock fandom.
So for those of you at home that cannot hear my very loving husband talk about priorities, he's talking about fantasy football and watching football at home. That games start at 12 o'clock. And so the 10:45 service is cutting it a little tight.
It used to be 10:30. I just didn't know if there was, I know I feel like that got spread out with COVID, trying to get more gap between. I was curious. I mean, whatever higher up that goes to, the elders.
Well, you know, I can't say God ordained 10:45, so we're talking about how high it goes. But no, I mean, all thoughts are, you know, let's entertain all the ideas, even the football ones, Jared. I think let's think it through.
Sunday's a big day for a lot of things. So.
For the kids in the classrooms.
Well,
So
on,
somebody just talked about having it being important for second service programming for children because of the growth track.
online, something kind of go hand in hand. That was a comment about figure different curriculum for each hour, so that way combine the kids for 1 hour, and then you got split classrooms later on to see. You have ones that go through multiple, not the same thing they're going through twice.
A lot of our volunteers have mixed services or, yeah. they get the same thing all day.
Yeah, so volunteers who have kids are in both services, so they're getting a lot of the same programming 2 times. Stacy, for Growth Track, how many people would you say do have kids that are in using or utilizing children's
Every growth
services?
track, I would say there's somebody who asked me before saying that they're gonna go through the growth track. Will there be childcare or Sunday school or however they phrase it during that time? So during because I had my parent hat on, not my staff hat. So it does come up every.
Okay. So Growth Track does have adults in it that need that childcare.
Good.
And if we did move to only offering programming during one of the services, we do have a room available for those kids that might need to step out for a minute. It does have feed of the church service, so parents wouldn't be missing out on what is still going on in the auditorium.
It's great thoughts. Any other thoughts? I'm trying to capture some of these. Any other thoughts you have about the idea of possibly combining any of these programming things? Paul?
I have a thought.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I've been on Zoom. I was rushing through it. I typed this in the chat, and I know you just mentioned it. The kids who are here for both hours, they're getting fed the same material.
Yeah.
I think if we could do a combined, like K through 5th in one of the hours, you know, at my old church, we called it Children's Church, and those kids were K through 5th. And then you keep the curriculum we have currently with the orange curriculum in the other hours. One, it reduces the volunteers that you would need. I would think you still need a big group to do the combined service, but the kids get different material. I think parents who have a 5th grader and a 1st grader, and they want them to be together, they have the option in that combined hour. And I think it would solve a lot of things if you did something like that. So one of the hours you do like a children's church hour, and the other hour you stick with more of the current curriculum we have.
Okay, so I'm just going to repeat it for those online. Is to one of the hours to have combined K-5 classroom, and then siblings who wanted to be together during that time that fit into those grade levels can. And then that second service would offer our normal programming.
And I don't know if this would work, but at our church, we actually had a designated area where when the kids came, they all got to sit together. They got to participate in worship. And then there was a time that hey, all the kids are heading out and we're going to children's church, and then they're getting fed a different lesson. I mean, we were a similar sized church to Gender. There would be 60 kids sitting over there in that area getting ready. I mean, they loved coming for that hour in children's church.
To do something similar, I know, up in the top, where the kids would come in through that side door and they would line up in there in the balcony, and they would do the worship, and then they would be right out through that side door and then go to the classrooms. So that is something that we used to do for the older kids, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 4. And my kids do love the songs, and that's why they like to stay with us, because they do like the worship the best part. That's a great idea.
Any other feedback or thoughts on combining or not combining, and a variation of combining?
Anything else online, Jared?
Nope, everybody's quiet online.
Okay.
If you're a Bears fan, why are you worried about seeing football?
I mean.
Somebody was going to say it. I just didn't know who.
Really hope if it's Cowboys
Let's scoot on to the mask thing. You've had a minute to kind of think about this. You know, that vaccination law did change. We will get the question. Any thoughts on where you think we ought to end up on masks for kids? Nobody cares. Nobody's interested in this topic.
Yeah, yeah.
We knew it was a dead issue. There's not much emotion around masks, right?
Nobody wants to be like, oh, I think this and then do that,
Yeah,
and then we get
yeah.
that. No one wants the weight of
Yeah.
that.
I want that.
It-
I have thoughts about it, it's really irrelevant. It don't matter.
It's hard. I know other churches in the area haven't been. I don't know,
Haven't been what?
having masks, like having children's ministry stuff have masks.
Hmm.
I don't even know how I personally feel about that, one way or the other. Like, I don't know.
My children go to a different church on Wednesdays for Awana, and it's a non-mask church, it's right down the road. But some kids wear the mask because their parents want them to wear the mask, and so they wear it, and then the other kids, they don't wear it. And then the workers, some wear it and some don't wear it. So they're leaving it up to a personal choice for the person or the individuals. That's what they're doing. Seems to be working for them. I don't know if that would work for us, but
So churches in our close area are giving the choice whether or not they want to wear the mask, adults,
Right.
volunteers, and children.
right. So it's like.
For any age?
Yes.
Okay.
Parents who are concerned with mask their children and parents who prefer it not, would not.
There is a question online asking, what does it mean for pre-K and under, would there only be one service for that?
Yeah, I don't think anything's decided, so let's just put that up front. I mean, there's been no decision about what would be or wouldn't be. But, you know, for me, I think I'd want to hear from the parents of those particular kids. I know some of the ways that, we're back on the combining, right? This is not
Yes.
about the masks.
Yes, I believe.
Combining, a combining question,
They're only
not the
asking one
mask.
service.
You can't put a mask on a baby, right? I mean, you shouldn't.
The,
Right, right.
currently it's 2 and older as tolerable,
Gotcha.
is what it is.
So as far as combining for the infants, I really would want to know. I kind of feel like you need to provide infant care no matter what. But then also I know there are some times whenever, you know, you make an area for nursing or crying available, and that seems to meet the need as well sometimes. So I don't know, but I'd want to hear the parents' perspective on that topic a little bit, and just recognize that no decision's been made. I think we should try to make an informed decision best we can. So their viewpoint on what we should do matters to me a lot, so. So on the masking topic, appreciated that, you know, it was maybe consider deferring it to the parents, letting them decide for each kid. Any other thoughts?
Someone said about following local schools, I think that's probably really important, but I feel like ultimately it's, you're gonna lose either way. I feel like for those kids whose parents want them to wear a mask, and they're kind of like singled out, and then it's like, I don't know, if it's a rule, then it's just like a rule, everyone just has to do it. But then again, I don't know how many people that, you know, turn off from coming to church. So, yeah.
I think
It
you
is.
articulated our problem. Thank
Yeah,
you,
It's a
Stephanie.
horrible
Yeah.
spot to be in.
Yeah, because you don't want to single kids out, but you also want to respect everybody. But yeah, I guess sticking with what the schools are doing is, I mean, you can always just fall back on that, like, that's what the state's doing, that's what the schools are doing.
You did make it optional for the kids, I think. I would maybe still for a while have the workers continue to wear masks. So it's not like, oh, well, the leader's not wearing theirs, now these other kids, and that kid feels singled out in a way.
So just to kind of, I'm not sure how much the audience can hear online, but just talking about following what the local school districts are doing with our mask policy. and sticking to that. And then it was brought up that if it was optional, to still have the volunteers wear masks. So the children who were wearing masks wouldn't feel singled out at all. As a parent of 2 kids who are in a local school district, I know they are continuing to wear masks at this point right now.
Feedback. Any other thoughts you want to jump in on this one before we move on?
Have we had any outbreaks in any of our children's ministry?
No.
That's really strong to fall back on, but then you don't want to take off the mask and 3 weeks later have that.
So in children's ministry, across the board, we've been really diligent about our cleaning policies, spraying down the classrooms in between services, not sharing as much that we have in the past, for example, like the scissors or the glue or the crayons. Those types of things are individualized, and cleaning hands as much as we need to during those times is what we have been doing thus far.
Daycares are still requiring masks to be worn.
Okay, so it was shared that daycares are still requiring masks to be worn.
As a volunteer, I love masks, all their stickiness. Related, I just feel like all the snot.
Yes, kids do have a lot going on. So as an adult having that on, sometimes it's nice.
Well, that all their
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's move on. Amanda, did you want to ask about any feedback on any of your items? I don't know if you did or not.
I mean, really, I just shared about the events that are coming up, and I want to have more ways to come together and do fellowship. So I'll be sharing more of that. And if you didn't know that we do have a children's Facebook page, we do have a children's Instagram page, and the ParentQ app are really big ways to connect, to know what's going on in children and student ministry.
Thank you. So we have about 10 more minutes. I want to keep this meeting to 1 hour. But if you want to ask other questions, maybe there was a topic that we didn't cover that's on your mind, something that you'd like to hear an answer to or give some feedback or ideas, this will be your chance to just speak. Hopefully it's relative to kids or students ministry. It's not like politics or something I can't speak
Games
to.
this week.
I do have a comment about VBS. You
Yes.
asked a question.
Yeah.
So with VBS, when it's in June, I know you guys normally are used to go off the Batavia, Geneva schools. I live in Warrenville, which is right down the road 5 minutes, but Warrenville, we get out.
Oh, you
late.
do get out late.
And so before we've had to miss VBS like by a couple of days,
Oh.
just because we're not on the same schedule. So if we could just check like the surrounding towns like Warrenville, Wheaton, other areas too.
I know in years past, it was the second week in June.
Yeah.
So when, like, for example, when do they get out?
This year, I don't know if it's the 3rd.
Wow.
The 3rd or the 10th of June.
It's usually like the
So a
10th,
week
it tends to be
before-
later for.
Yeah, and before we used to have snow days, so if we had snow days, then that's what would push us out and we would miss it by a couple of days. So
Mhm.
just to keep that, in mind.
So if it were to get moved back into June, I don't want to have any child miss out because of school. So it would be towards the end of June.
Which I know you were talking before, I think good feedback from anybody on that, not necessarily today, but talking about how some of the churches found out do some at nights and stuff like that, if that makes it easier. It's summer, so I know it gets a little tricky. Usually kids are somehow managed, but sometimes nights can be easier. If you have more parents that are working, it is harder to try to get, if they are in some other facility or, you know, someone is watching, sometimes it's easier to do a 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock one, but I think that's a good ongoing, anytime you see Amanda or Ken, just kind of throw that at them. I think that sounds like a great idea.
I love volunteering at VBS in the past, and I can't do it here because I
I know,
It helps with volunteers.
yeah, volunteers, I know that there were a lot that wanted to participate and help out, but had other obligations with work and other things going on. So during the day, I know it was hard for some of the volunteers. And as a parent, a few years ago, my work situation was different and it was hard to get my child a ride to come to VBS. So I know there's a lot of different life situations that are happening. So it's not decided right now what's going to happen. Like it's, 6 months away, 7 months away. So I just want to open the discussion. So like I said, I want to help best serve the kids and the parents of the church and do that. So.
Or they could, you have a family meal before we get started each night, so that was the other work. Your kids and then be fed and that was it. So that was also like.
So if it were to move to the evening, somebody suggested to have a family meal so that they could have that family time with the parent before VBS would start once they got off of work. So it is a unique idea that I don't think everyone necessarily think about, but just a fun way to kind of have that time because the days go by very fast. And so having that time, but other than, that bedtime routine, trying to go through all the things that needs to happen. Yeah. So that's good. Good fellowship time.
I do really like, but I think that it also is a miss for some parents who are so it's just things to consider about. I know last year we had several families that just yes, their kids were like, oh yeah, I've seen this curriculum before. And so it's just something like
Any other feedback on or thoughts on VBS? Yeah, just double it up. Morning and night.
I think it was pretty easy last year, so I don't see why 2 is not,
Who needs to sleep? I'll just sleep on the couch,
Easy last year.
right? You didn't sleep this year. How are you gonna sleep?
He got a very unique inside look to what the behind the scenes of VBS. So yeah, easy is, I guess, a relative term. I don't know.
Any other thoughts, any other topics anybody want to bring up?
How was the family game?
It was good. We had some table games set up on the side, and some children even brought in games, so they got to share some of those games with their friends. One of the big hits was bowling. We did have bowling down the main aisle here.
Really?
Yes, it was
Wow.
very exciting to bowl inside the church. Yes, I did learn that we have some good arms, so
Okay. Nice.
could become a career or do sports or something, but no, it was fun. So we had some families come.
I think more of those type things for families will build more momentum as well. I know it's not easy and you have to plan, but I think I'm sorry that we were out of town. I could be here to help, and I think more of those would be great.
Yeah.
Another idea to maybe think of at some point is like a date night where you could provide childcare here at the church.
Well, I'm not sure where you were in the process, but February 11th is a parents' night out. So
Love it.
parents can drop off their kids and go out and have their time.
Does it retouch on all the events that you're trying to plan one a month?
Yes.
Maybe explain that.
Yes, so as I mentioned, want to build opportunities to come together, have fun in different ways, and have that community and fellowship time. I am wanting to try to do that once a month to help build that momentum and build that time together. I know in October we had Pumpkin Palooza, which was a lot of fun. November was family game night. December is the gingerbread bash, where we're gonna build gingerbread houses as families. Just have fun. I'll be sharing the gingerbread gospel, which is exciting. And January is muffins with mom. And February is parents' night out. March is donuts with dad. And I mean, it's opened to people who maybe not just dad, but maybe grandpas or uncles or, you know, moms or grandmas or aunts. Everyone's family life is a little bit different. So all are welcome.
Asking you shall receive, Paul.
Bam, we're on the same, I know.
Amazing. Anything else? Couple more minutes. Or, you know, I've never had anybody be against adjourning a meeting, so we could just end the meeting now. If I don't, does anybody have anything else? Anybody online?
If I could say one last thing.
You've
and
got
then-
another one?
Really? No, really fast.
Okay,
I
go.
got some.
I want to showcase all the fun that we are having in all of the children's spaces. And we want to do that. So we want to update our information and our family photo release.
Oh, yes.
So that helps us post things on Facebook, on the website, and all of those things. So having our updated information helps us get you the information to know what's going on. And then it helps us showcase all the fun that we're having.
I was just gonna say, I think anybody that ever has ideas or questions for stuff should totally make sure to say stuff to Amanda, Ken, Kevin loves hearing ideas too. Even Kristen at the check-in desk downstairs. Everyone loves great ideas. So besides being formal, just in passing, I think one of them here's a good idea and then it all of a sudden becomes a thing. So anytime anybody has an idea, to definitely throw out to them, because yeah, why not?
Thank you, Jared. It's perfect. Let me just close this in a word of prayer, but I think that was a great final comment just for everybody to get their information going. So I found out we've been trying to send emails, and I learned today that one of the reasons people weren't getting them is because we don't have all the birth dates for the kids in the system. So we need to get like everyone's information updated. And you'll probably bump into families and you're like, why aren't they more involved? And it could be we don't have their information to invite them stuff. So, you know, let's just all work together. Let's work together to try to get the information current, get everybody invited. Obviously, Amanda is planning some amazing things and she's going to keep it up. So let's just try to come around and get it all headed in the right direction. Appreciate all of you coming out tonight. I know that, you know, when you sat around and dreamed about what to do with Thursday, it wasn't this. So I appreciate you preempting whatever you would have done to come here and talk about the ministry that God's called us to kids and to students. It's worth it. They're worth it. They're our mission field. They really are. And that's why we do all this. So I appreciate your involvement. I appreciate your leadership. I'm very encouraged by what you shared tonight in a lot of ways. And just thankful for everybody participating tonight. It's all that collaboration that makes it work. So thank you guys. Let me close this in a word of prayer and ask God to lead us. Lord, thank you. These aren't just empty words. I'm always grateful when I look around and see hot-hearted people that want to follow you and want to teach our kids and to collaborate and raise our children in a community of faith. I'm thankful for that. Thankful for leaders who are passionate and give their time. I'm thankful for parents who strive to be involved and want the programming and all the events and all of the stuff to really click so that the kids have the best chance ever to follow you and to build community and friendships that matter. And so, Lord, I just thank you for that. I pray that, Lord, you take all these things as an offering to you and that you would lead us in a direction that would just best build community and minister to these students and these kids and raise up leaders. All the stuff that you want, Lord, I pray that you would lead us toward that for the honor and glory of your name. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
guys.
Thank you.
You guys.